Welcome to Last Call. I've officiated weddings. That guy wants me to do a funeral. I haven't done a funeral. Kind of a wedding's a celebratory thing. Funeral, I'm not sure if I'm up for that. But this is Last Call. We have not seen the last of Marshawn Lynch in Seattle. Beast mode is coming back. Sunday night versus the Niners. Could we have Beast Quake 2? Maybe. I don't know. We got a great show. I'm here. Pereira's holed up in some bunker. We're going to hear from him. They sent us a video. We're not sure if it's a hostage situation, but we do have video of Mike. We hope that they're feeding him and helping him, do the different things that he needs help with. But let's get to Pat's Bills. Saturday, this was the Patriots could clinch the division, the AFC East. They're 11th in a row. And this guy on Twitter, Stephen Bond, how many calls are the Patriots going to get in Foxborough at Dean Blandino? Well, now, when Stephen Bond is not angrily tweeting at me, he's also producing this show, Last Call, but he's not here. He's on vacation, visiting family. I don't know what he's doing. I think he's in Vegas, but our old producer, Mike Davis, is back. Mike, thanks. And it's the shortest show of the season, by the way. This is usually like a 3-page deal, 1.5 maybe. And it'll be the shortest show of the season. Let's get to, are the Patriots going to get every call against the Bills? Well, they didn't get this call. Julian Edelman got called for offensive pass interference. A lot of chatter on social media. I was on the game, had a good discussion with Mike Tirico and Kurt Warner about what are the officials looking for. Edelman was running a slant route. There was contact with the DB who was in man coverage on Ben Watson, and they collided. Now, who is the onus on? Is the onus on the defender or is the onus on the receiver? Well, what the official is looking for, they're looking, is the receiver running a route? Is the receiver trying to avoid that defender and get open? Or is the receiver seeking out that defender, initiating the contact in a blocking posture? If it's more than a yard downfield before the ball is touched, then it's offensive pass interference. Edelman, it was close, but it looked like Edelman dropped his shoulder, initiated that contact, or at least was ready for that contact. And again, when you drop your shoulder in that blocking posture, that's an indicator for the game official. They threw the flag and ended up taking back a touchdown. Patriots win the game, but Bond, they did not get that call. Okay, so the Patriots don't get every call. Bills are close, but they're not quite over the hump. And Patriots win another AFC East title. Now let's go to another play late in the half, and we can pull up this Twitter exchange. And I love it when people have arguments, they have discussions on my Twitter, and they keep including me in it. Can we pull this up? This was a 10-second runoff at the end of the half. And so I tweeted out that the clock was stopped with 8 seconds because of the touchdown ruling. When they reverse to short, they have to run 10 seconds to account for the time that would have run off the clock if the call was right initially. And this commenced, okay? Somebody just wants to die. Lions fans jumped in. I'm sure there's a Dez caught it tweet in there. We don't know. But the bottom line is this is a rule that a lot of people have an issue with because they feel like ruling on the field was a touchdown. The receiver, the Bills receiver, was actually down short of the goal line. So if the ruling on the field would have been correct, the clock would have continued to run. So the offense would never have gotten another snap with that time on the clock. So you have to account for that. So you go from a stopped clock, the touchdown ruling, to a running clock down short of the goal line. You run 10 seconds. And if either team has a timeout and they want to use the timeout to save the 10 seconds, they can. Buffalo had a timeout, which was important. Coach McDermott did not challenge a call early in the game that was close on a spot. Had he challenged that and lost, he wouldn't have had that timeout left. Good thing he didn't. He had the timeout. They saved the 10 seconds. Buffalo gets the ball. They reset the clock to where it was when the receiver was down. But again, people say, why 10 seconds? You could get lined up with 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Well, depending on the length of the play, a 5-yard pass, a 5-yard gain, yeah, you could probably get lined up in 5 seconds. But a 30-yard pass, no, you can't. There has to be a standard. The standard is 10 seconds. Competition can be put in a 10-second runoff rule for false starts and fouls that stop the clock inside of a minute. many years ago, and they determined that 10 seconds was the standard for how long it takes an offense to get lined up legally and snap the football. That's why it's 10 seconds. That's why the rule is in there, because imagine Buffalo didn't have a timeout. This is about a 30-yard pass. There's 8 seconds on the clock when the runner was down. There's no way they're going to get lined up and get another snap. That's why you have the runoff rule. And that's why it's in place, and that's why we have Twitter, so you can have these discussions on my Twitter page and include me in the conversation. Let's go to the game. We're going to hear from Mike Pereira. Again, we're hoping that they're feeding him. They're giving him water. This was the game of the week, Cowboys-Eagles. Let's go to Mike with his thoughts on the officiating in that game, and I think he's going to touch on the officiating in the 49er game.
Yeah, Dean, I'm still in Philadelphia, and I'll be heading back west later this afternoon. But reflecting back on yesterday, America's Game of the Week, the Cowboys and the Eagles, I thought it was well officiated by Tony Correni and his crew. My kind of game, quite frankly. 6 accepted penalties and no glaring misses that were really noticeable. And then you go to replay. You know, you got a key play in the third quarter. The Cowboys are establishing some momentum on their first possession, and Pollard fumbles the ball, but it was ruled down. He was ruled down. So Philadelphia had the challenge, which Peterson did, and you could see it was a fumble. Then the question became, was there a clear recovery? And as we went to break, commercial break, we didn't have that. But in commercial break, what Richie Zients and Rich Russo, the producer and director, do, they empty the bucket. That's what they call it. They show every shot they can get their hands on. And lo and behold, the last shot, that was the one. That was the shot where you saw a clear recovery by Malcolm Jenkins. And so when we came back from break, we knew that the ball was going to be awarded to the Eagles. So good challenge, good use of replay, and great job by Richie Zients and Rich Russo, who scoured through all the shots they had and finally found the one that showed the clear recovery by Jenkins. And then replay, essentially at the end of the game, on the pass to Michael Gallup that was broken up by Sidney Jones. It's a fourth down play. Game's essentially over. So they stopped to look at it because there was the potential for defensive pass interference. But they didn't put it on, and they shouldn't have. Yes, there was some contact. Both players were actually looking back at the ball. I don't think he had the arm hooked. As a matter of fact, you know, Gallup had his arm over the arm of Sidney Jones. And so with all that jostling, it didn't rise to the level of clear and obvious. But I think it's the right stop, because it's essentially who wins or loses the game. Because had they called pass interference, we know the ball would be put at the 1. But the right decision by Al Riveron and Russell Yerk in New York to leave that as not defensive pass interference. So well officiated game, 2 big games that I got to watch kind of closely. I'd say the same thing for San Francisco and the Rams, which was a really exciting game on Saturday night. 10 accepted penalties in that game. And I'm not even sure there was a replay review period. That was Clete Blakeman and his crew. So all in all, a good experience in Philadelphia, and I think some good momentum for officiating headed into Week 17. And by the way, I wanted to ask you something, Dean. Last week, if you recall, they surprised us with this awful announcing poll that they did on who's your favorite rules analyst. I don't think I ever saw the rules, but I mean the results. But I do think we have them now. Let's take a look. No. Hey, Dean, back to you. You're not even Avis.
What does that mean, Avis? I don't know what that means. Well, the fact that Mike, I agree that Mike is the best rules analyst, because if you read some of the comments on that awful announcing thread, they said this is the most useless position in broadcasting. So the fact that he's the best at the most useless position in broadcasting, I think that's great. Message to the kidnappers, though, just don't be too greedy with your demands, because we're just not sure we want Mike back. Let's go to Carolina and Indianapolis, and this was an ejection. This was Vernon Butler, and this is what happened. Butler gets locked up with an offensive lineman, grabs the Colts player, pulls him down by the face mask, and then basically just punches Jack Doyle in the mask. Flag is thrown on the field for unnecessary roughness. Then replay gets involved and New York gets involved, and they determine that Butler would be disqualified. Now, that is part of the process. If a flag is thrown on the field for something unnecessary roughness, a personal foul, and New York determines that that foul should result in an ejection, they can eject from New York, and that's what they did. And it was the right call. That is the right call. Throwing a punch at a player, that's an automatic. The officials on the field need to eject immediately. And it was good that New York stepped in. Now, I just want to say, poor Jack Doyle. I mean, Jack Doyle wasn't even doing anything. He was along for the ride. He's just laying there, and he gets punched in the head. I don't know what Jack Doyle's been doing this year. He's the guy that Burfict hit to get suspended indefinitely. So I don't know. Maybe is Jack Doyle kind of like a low-key, I don't know. What is he? Why do people have this thing out for Jack Doyle? But anyway, sorry for Jack that he got in the wrong. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but it was the right call in terms of ejecting the player. Now, let's go back to school. We got a treat for you. This was a play that was going around on social media, an unbelievable play. This is Ryan versus Shadow Creek in the UIL Texas State Championships. It's a punt. Ryan is punting. The ball goes over the punter's head into the end zone. The punter kicks the loose ball. Shadow Creek, number 2, picks it up, heads up play, runs it in for a touchdown. Officials get together. They got to sort this out. This is the UIL State Championship, Davis. This is a big game here. And they've got to sort this out. Illegal kick. You cannot kick a loose ball on the ground. That's a foul. It takes place in the offensive team's end zone. So by rule, the enforcement of that penalty is a safety. But it does not kill the play, and that's what the crew is discussing, and they were all over it. You could see the official make the decline penalty signal. Shadow Creek will decline the penalty for the illegal kick, which would have resulted in a safety. They take the result of the play, which is a touchdown. So again, same enforcement in college, same enforcement in the NFL. The illegally kicking the loose ball doesn't kill the play. It is a foul, takes place in the end zone, it's a safety, but the result of the play is a touchdown, so that's the best result for Shadow Creek. And it's not a punt return, okay, because that's not a legal punt. It's basically a backward pass that is treated as a muff, and so it's a recovery, advance for a touchdown, and an unbelievable play, and a great job by that crew that got together, got it right, and then awarded Shadow Creek the score. So that's the show. Great job, Davis. Great job, Pereira, in your bunker. Make sure you watch. We got the Holiday Bowl coming up on FS1 Friday, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, USC, Iowa. We'll talk to you next week after Week 17. Money Lynch, baby. Beastquake. Let's go. Let's go!
This bowl is always a good time. This bowl always lights up the night.
It all comes down to this.
And this year won't be any different. Keaton Slovis, the freshman phenom, has the Trojans moving in the right direction. But after a season of what-ifs, Iowa is out for redemption as they look for their 3rd bowl win in a row.
Touchdown, Iowa!
The San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl. Friday at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on FS1 and the Fox Sports app.